my shamanic journey to meet with and dialogue with, have a conversation with death. Welcome back, much love, Trav here. Recording a video at night for a change down here on Alki. You can see some boats and ferries, bunch of car traffic. Seattle's super noisy, y'all know that. Raining, not a lot of people out. And I wanted to talk to you and invite you to come along with me on a crazy journey. Invite you to join with me and have some guidance on how to go on your own shamanic journey to meet with death. First things, that sounds crazy. I'm not a shaman. I read a book and I'm going to share with you. And also, my commitment this year is to know my place and share my journey and ask more questions rather than give advice. Quick channel update. Taking some advice from Gary Vaynerchuk. Many of you know Gary V. Big social media master. And Gary says, hey bro, you're young. Maybe you're a whiz kid that really knows the world, really knows everything that actually exists. Or it's possible there's a bunch of 30, 40, 50, 60-year-olds who are looking at you and like, yo, I'm skeptical of this dude because he's young and he's talking like he has all the answers. I don't have all the answers. I'm going on a journey and I'm going to share with you many things that work for me, and I'm going to share with you as the reporter, as a journalist, what works. So I'm not a shaman. Been studying shamanism, reading this book by Carl Greer about storytelling and shamanic journeys and how we can use stories to change our life. What's your story about your life? What's your story about your relationship? What's your story about your relationship with yourself? What's your story about your money situation? What's your story about your health? Right, we all have stories. We change our story, we can change our life. So we're gonna talk about stories with death. We're also bringing in some Carl Jungian stuff here. Carl Jung has a technique where you dialogue with the shadow person, you dialogue with the shadow figure or shadow character. You have a conversation with the unconscious. You ask the unconscious, hey, why? What can I do for you? Why are you doing this? And then you wait to see what your unconscious says. It's like controlled schizophrenia. It's pretty cool. I recommend trying that. So what is shamanism? Shamanism has a lot of overlap with that because shamanism has a lot to do with an exploration of the unconscious, exploration of the shadow realm, journeying into other dimensions in the mind, and it allows us to come back with greater wisdom and clarity in our lives. So one of the exercises in this book was a shamanic journey to meet with death. Ask death some questions, have some conversation. A lot of us go through life not wanting to confront death, trying to push it out of mind. That works okay, but has a lot of problems. And as we've discussed in depth in 2016 on this channel, most of the most successful people tend to be more aware of death than the least successful people because they have a greater appreciation for time and for mortality and to get shit done today. That's a generality, but it seems to be generally true. So, shamanic journey to meet with death. You're gonna go down wherever the setting is up to you. You're gonna go to death and you're gonna have some conversation. You're gonna ask some questions. One of the suggested questions is, what can I do for you, death? What can you do for me? So I decided I would try this out. I went on a shamanic death journey. I went into the forest to meet with death because in my death fantasy, I have a death fantasy. It helps me deal with it. I want to be in control of my situation, so I'd like to live in 3 centuries, get to 110 years or greater, dig a pit in the forest and go lay me down to rest. And the idea of being gobbled up by ants and being gobbled up by birds and sucked up to the roots of the trees makes me believe in a physical afterlife. Law of conservation of energy, law of conservation of matter. So in my mind I go, on my shamanic death journey, in my mind I go to the forest to meet with death. And what happens is the trees around me encircle me and form a wall. They suck in. They form a wall of trees. The canopy above sinks in, and I'm just in the pit surrounded by trees, And this is my death scene, and your death scene may be different. So I took the advice of Carl Greer and I said, hey Death, what can I do for you? And Death told me to live. Okay. I asked Death if I lived, I would be able to come back to this spot when it was time and to meet again and have a conversation again. And Death says, if you live right. What do you mean if I live right? If you make a tremendous impact, what if I don't make a tremendous impact? Then I can't promise you will come back here. You may get burned to ashes, buried in some box or something like that. You won't have control. You won't be able to come back. Okay. So if that's basically the end of the conversation. That's the information that I wanted. That gives me a lot of peace with death, right? And gives me a lot of motivation for right now. If I live right, if I make a tremendous impact, I will be able to have my choice of death setting and meet with death on my terms, not necessarily the year I choose, but the location that I choose, have a conversation, and pass in my choosing. And if I do not, then that will not happen. And that's tremendous motivation. Gives me a lot of peace as well. I open my eyes, I'm back in my room. That's my shamanic death journey. Does it sound crazy? Well, it is. But it's also very helpful, and it's amazing to me to get that sort of experience from a book. From reading a book for less than an hour. I read a book for less than an hour. I left my room, met with death, had a dialogue, and came back with much greater clarity about what I wanted to do with my life, what I needed to do in order to end it the way that I wanted to end it. So that's just so awesome, and I wanted to share it. Again, so that book delivered an experience to me, and that's my commitment, to deliver experiences to you. I don't think it's so much about whether I'm a whiz kid that knows a bunch of stuff, a young whippersnapper who happens to have life all figured out, but if I can deliver experiences like that to you, as Elliot Holst taught me that the most valuable thing is experience, then I've done my job. So I invite you today, after this video, to go on a shamanic death journey and have a dialogue and come back. You can choose to share it below if you want. You don't have to. I think that it will be very interesting, and I'm excited to hear what you have to say if you go through with this. Again, it is just an experiment, and you don't have to script it. Just see what comes out. Have a conversation with your unconscious, and you may be surprised by what happens. That's about it for today. 2017 is going to be fucking huge. I've got a lot of big stuff that I'm very, very excited to share with you. It's going to be awesome as we go back here. Look forward to reading what you have to say below. And let me know what you think about this video. I definitely prefer to record in the mornings when I have the most energy. But I just wanted to get this out and do something different. So let me know if you prefer this or if I seem a little bit under it. Have an amazing one. Take action. Speak soon. Bam.